Hello, our discussion is all about the radical expression, specifically in the operation addition and subtraction. And we have here the main objective that stated perform the indicated operations and then simplify. In the given for number 1, which is 3 square root of 3 plus 8 square root of 3 plus 11 square root of 3 minus 15 square root of 3. If we're going to perform the indicated operations, the first step that you're going to do is just to check if the radicand and index of a certain expression of the given terms are the same. Since in number 1, its index and radicand are the same, which is square root or 2 as the index and 3 as the radicand. So we are now performing the number outside. So we have now 3 plus 8, which is 11, plus 11, which is 22, minus 15, so we have 7. So copy the square root of 3, so therefore we can claim now that the answer of number 1 is 7 square root of 3. Okay, and let's proceed to number 2. The number 2 given is 8 square root of 5 minus 11 square root of 5 plus 8 square root of 2 plus 5 square root of 2 minus 11 square root of 2. So in this given expression, we now have, as I said, the first major thing that we're going to work is just to check if the radicand index and index are the same. So in this case, we have here the 8 square root of 5 and negative 11 square root of 5 are the same term. Then the other one is 8 square root of 2, 5 square root of 2, and negative 11 square root of 2 are the same. So in this case, we're going to perform those expressions having the same term. So we now have here 8 added to negative 11. So the result is negative 3 square root of 5. Then here we have 8 plus 5 is 13 plus negative 11, which is 2. So then copy so we now have here positive 2. Then copy square root of 2. So if we're going to arrange this one here, so we could see something that this one is equivalent to 2 square root of 2 minus 3 square root of 5 as the answer. So this is now the answer for number 2. In the given problem number 3 is we have 5 square root of 50 plus 3 square root of 75 minus 2 square root of 12 plus 4 square root of 2. If we're going to check further the given expression here, we could not add them all together because they don't have the same radicand, although they have the same indices. But take note, the other terms here can be simplified, like square root of 50, like square root of 75, and square root of 12. So we're going to factor them. So finding that one of the factors should be perfect square, because the requirement that we have is in the radical expression, which is 2, or the index is 2. So the factor now is 25 times 2. And the other one is 3 times 25 times 3. Then 2 square root of 4 times 3 plus 4 square root of 2. So in this case now we have, take note that we have to remember our knowledge that we have to have a certain review that stated nth root of a times b is the same as nth root of a times nth root of b. So we now have here in this case, so we are going to factor or distribute the perfect square to non-perfect square. So from 5 times square root of 25 times 2, it became now 5 times square root of 2 times square root of 2 as the radical review or radical definition stated, or theorem. Then we now have here the second term, which is 3 times square root of 25 times square root of 3. Then the other one is minus 2 times square root of 4 times square root of 3. Then 4 square root of 2. In this case, we now have 5. Square root of 25 is 5. Copy the square root of 2. Then the other one is 3. Copy the square root of square root of 25 is 5 times square root of 3, because square root of 3 is not a perfect square anymore, so just copy only the square root of 3, minus 2. Square root of 4 is 2. Then we have here times square root of 3. Then copy the plus square root of 2. In this case, we're going to work all those things that we have, like 5 times 5, which is 25. Then copy the square root of 2 plus 3 plus 15, because 3 times 5 is 15, which is square root of 3, minus 4, because 2 times 2 is 4, square root of 3, plus 4 square root of 2. In this case, we now have to combine like term, which is 25 and 4. Then now 25 square root of 2 added by 4 square root of 2, so we now have 29 square root of 2. Then 15 square root of 3 added by negative 4 square root of 3, so we now have here 11 square root of 3. So the answer that we have now is 29 square root of 2 plus 11 square root of 3. Since they don't have the same radicand, so we cannot combine them. Okay, next we have the problem 5 square root of 128 plus 4 square root of 50 plus 5 square root of 12 minus square root of 48 plus 3 square root of 2. So since again, as we check them, we cannot add automatically because they don't have the same in radicand, but then they have the same indices. All we have to do is to factor it out that one of the factors should be perfect square. So we now have 5 times 64 times square root of 64 times 2 plus 4 square root of 25 times 2, because the factor of 50 is 25 times 2. And then the factor of 12 is 4 times 3. So 5 square root of 4 times 3. Then minus square root of 16 times 3, because the factor of the product of 16 and 3 is 48. So this is what now the factor is all takes place for the square root of 48. Then we have 3 copy 3 square root of 2. So in this case, we now have here 5. Then square root of 64 is 8. Then copy square root of 2. Then we now have here 4. Square root of 25 is 5. Then square root of 2, because this is not a perfect square anymore. Then we have 5 times 2 square root of 3 minus 4 square root of 3 plus 3 square root of 2. So we now have to perform first the multiplication, like 5 times 8, which is 40 square root of 2, 20 square root of 2, because 4 times 5 is 20. Then copy the square root of 2. So that is why 4 times 5 times square root of 2 is just the same as 20 square root of 2, plus 5 times 2 is 10 square root of 3 minus 4 square root of 3 plus 3 square root of 2. So in this case, in the given now, is we're going to add those having the same term, like square root of 40 square root of 2 added to 20 square root of 2. So we now have here 60 square root of 2 added by 3 square root of 2. So we now have here 63 square root of 2 as the answer. If we're going to combine the same terms, the same radical and the index and radicand. Then we have here 10 square root of 3. We have here 10 square root of 3 added by 4 square root of 3. So we have 6 square root of 3, because they have 10 minus 4 is 6. Then copy the square root of 3. Since as we go through with this, since we cannot add the 2 here, so we could now claim that this answer that we have, this is now the answer that we have of the given expression. So the answer now would be 63 square root of 2 plus 6 square root of 3. Okay, thank you for now and goodbye.